All right, to create charts in Google Sheets, not a big deal. But one of the things that you got to keep in mind is that your data is what determines what kind of chart you have. So I've got specific data to learn how to do our column, and then we have different data for our pie and different for our line. Okay, so for a column chart, highlight your data. Now you do want to include column headers, that way it knows what to put in the legend. And then under Insert, you'll find Chart. And then this is the chart editor, and we're going to go through and make some changes. So under the Setup tab, this is where you choose what kind of chart it's going to be. Now Google will try to guess, and in this case it guessed correctly. This is a column chart. We could also do a bar graph, which is the same, just sideways, but I like the column better. And really there's nothing else to do on this tab, with the exception of if you forgot to highlight the correct information, you could re-highlight right here. But we did good, so we're fine. All right, on the Customize, let's make it look a little different. Now, we can't do as much as, let's say, Microsoft Excel could, but we could still do some things. All right, chart style. Let's give it a background color, something so it stands out a little bit. The font, this would be for the whole thing, so you can change the font to something else. And then there is a little border if you wanted to change that. Okay, 3D. It's not too 3D, but if you like it, you could do that. Don't do maximize, that kind of ruins it. All right, so under chart style, we're good. Okay, chart and axes titles. So here's our chart title, and we have this as the title, which is ridiculous. So we'll put in like TV show ratings. Okay, and so now that changes. The horizontal axis already is called shows, but the vertical axis is missing something. So let's put in ratings. So now that shows up over there. Of course, the font size, you can do all of those things. All right, the series. So with apply to all, we can't do much, but what we can do is if we go to the blue one, we can actually change the color to something else. So maybe blue is going to be this color, and then maybe the red one will be this color. All right. Under the legend, now here is the legend right here at the top, and it's set to auto. I am going to stick mine at the bottom here, but it's just an artistic choice. Of course, fonts and all of that stuff again. Okay, the horizontal axes. So if we needed to slant our labels or anything like that, here's where we do that. So because we have 4 shows, they all show up fine. But if we had like 10 shows, there might not be enough room. So what we could do is we could slant them so they would look like this. But if it's set to auto, it'll just do that by itself. So that's all right. We have our vertical axes over here. Really, there's nothing we'd want to do except if you wanted to set a minimum or a maximum. See, like none of these comes anywhere even close to 2000. So we could, if we put our minimum at 2000, 2000 would go down to there. Usually we just keep it as it is. And then the grid lines. That's these little guys here. You don't really want a lot of grid lines because then it becomes too cluttered. But in this case, I like it just the way it is. All right, so now I'm going to click out of there. So here's our chart. You could move it around. If you need to get back in, with my black background it's hard to tell, but there's 3 little dots right here. If you click Edit Chart, will take you right back to where we just came from. You can also delete the chart. You can download it as an image. You could put it on its own sheet, right? So you have all of those choices. So with this chart, very easy to compare the ratings over 2 years. So we can see that Survivor, iZombie got better, The Expanse stayed about the same, and Modern Family got worse. Okay, pie chart. A pie chart is all about showing parts of a whole. So in this case, we have one company, 4 products. So how much does each contribute to its overall sales? Now, pie charts are a little particular. The label needs to be right next to the number. If these numbers were over in column C and there was a blank column here in B, it wouldn't work. So make sure there's no blank columns between these. Okay, so I'm going to go to Insert Chart. This time it did not guess correctly, so here's a pie chart. But if you scroll down, you can see, there's different kinds of pies. All right, under Customize, most of this is the same, but there are a few things that can be different. So for example, You can turn your pie chart 3D, which, maybe you like. For the pie chart itself, you can add a donut hole. Some people like that. There is a border again, which, you can turn on if you want. See, now it's a little bit of that color. The slice labels. Now, these are not labels. This is the legend. If you want the labels on the actual slice, like if you wanted the percentages, then you could turn those on like that. The pie slice, just like before, so you can change each one to be a different color if you want to do that. And then the title, here's where we'd put that. And then the legend is set to auto, and this is by default going to be this labeled one. But if you said bottom, right, so now this tells you what each product color is, and then our labels on there tells you the percent. It's up to you how you want that to look. All right, so with a pie chart, very easy to tell that product A is our lowest selling item. And our third chart is a line graph. Line charts or line graphs show us a trend over time. So in this case, we have 4 years and the GPA. So we'll highlight our data. Remember, if we include the column headers, then that will go into the legend. We're going to insert our chart. So it did guess a line graph. Now, you have a couple of choices. So if you scroll down to lines, so here's our line. You have kind of curved line. And then you could also do an area, which gives you some color below that. I'm just going to keep it here. All of this is the same as a column chart, with the exception of the series, because the series is a line. So yes, you could change the color of that. You could also change what the line looks like. You can change the thickness of the line. There's also data points. So like 6th grade is right here, 7th grade is right here. If you want your data points to show up, then you need to make them thicker than the line. So let's say if I did 7, so there's my data points, and maybe I don't want them to be circles, maybe I want them to be stars, and that's harder to read, hexagons, whatever. And so now we can easily do that. All right, so just make sure for your assignment that every chart looks like this one. So there's a title, there's different colors, background colors, a legend, labels on the axes, like all of that good stuff.